walked into the bar and there he was. And first of all, he was gorgeous. I didn't know that there was going to be a nude scene.
A single phone call changed Donna Mills' life overnight. Donna Mills thought she was walking into the biggest opportunity of her career. Instead, she found herself on one of the most unpredictable movie sets in Hollywood. She never auditioned for the role. She was hired almost overnight. Within days, she was filming scenes that weren't even in the script, taking direction from Clint Eastwood as he gambled everything on his very first film as a director. So, what really happened between Donna Mills and Clint Eastwood during the making of Play Misty for Me? What unexpected moments unfolded behind the cameras? Let's uncover the story Hollywood never fully told. The untold story behind Play Misty for Me. The turnaround afterward was almost unbelievable by any modern standard. Mills finished the soap opera job in New York on a Friday, flew straight out to Los Angeles, tried on wardrobe pieces that Saturday, and then traveled up to the quiet coastal town of Carmel by the Sea to begin filming the very next Monday morning. The movie was Play Misty for Me, released in 1971, and it marked the very first time Eastwood ever stepped behind the camera as a director instead of only acting in front of it. The story followed a small-town radio disc jockey named Dave Garver, played by Eastwood, whose comfortable life is turned completely upside down by an obsessive late-night fan. Mills played Toby Williams, the on-again, off-again girlfriend of the disc jockey, while actress Jessica Walter played the obsessive caller causing all the chaos and danger. Filming took place almost entirely in Carmel, a small seaside town so beloved by Eastwood that years later the town actually elected Eastwood as its own mayor. On set, the mood stayed calm and efficient, rather than chaotic or stressful. The vision behind each scene was already fully worked out, and rarely did any scene need more than 1 or 2 takes to feel exactly right. Every actor on the entire project had been chosen specifically because that instinct and talent was already trusted completely, without needing constant direction or notes. That trust paid off in a massive way once filming wrapped. For any first-time director, finishing a movie under budget and ahead of schedule is extremely rare, since most rookie directors run long and spend far more than planned. Yet, that is exactly what happened on the set of Play Misty for Me, quietly proving that calm confidence behind the camera could be just as powerful as flashy, dramatic showmanship. Then came the moment that changed everything. A romantic montage sequence had been planned for the film, set near a quiet forest pond that involved both lead actors appearing without clothing, while the song "The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face" played softly in the background. The twist is that this particular scene was not part of the original script Mills had first read and agreed to film weeks earlier back in New York. Instead of leaving the surprising news to a producer or an assistant, Eastwood personally walked over to the dressing room to explain the entire plan face to face, which already said a great deal about the kind of set this was going to be. The vision for the scene got described in careful detail, and the song even got played out loud in that dressing room so the full emotional tone of the moment could be heard ahead of time. Then came the most unexpected part of the whole conversation, a promise that most young performers in 1971 rarely ever received from a director holding all the power on set. A clear promise followed. After the scene got filmed, if the final footage ever felt inappropriate, uncomfortable, or simply wrong, once it was watched back together, the entire sequence would be cut from the movie completely, with no argument and no pressure applied afterward. That kind of respect, offered freely before the cameras even started rolling, was rare for that era of Hollywood, when actors often had very little say over how their own bodies appeared on screen. In the end, the finished scene turned out tasteful, beautifully shot, and perfectly matched to the emotion of the song. It stayed in the final film and became one of its single most memorable moments among longtime fans of the movie. It also remained the only nude scene across the entire acting career of Mills, out of decades filled with dozens and dozens of other roles. The untold beginning of Donna Mills. Before the fame, before the movie sets, And before the bright lights of Hollywood, Donna Mills was simply a young girl growing up in Chicago, Illinois, with no obvious guarantee that she would one day become one of television's most recognizable faces. Donna Jean Miller was born on December 11, 1940. She spent her childhood in a city known for its hard-working spirit and vibrant cultural life. Like countless other children of her generation, she attended local public schools, beginning at Garvey Elementary School before continuing her education at Taft High School. Nothing about those early years suggested that Hollywood would eventually come calling, yet the qualities that would define her career, discipline, determination, and a willingness to take risks, were already beginning to take shape. Mills proved to be an exceptional student from an early age. Her academic performance at Garvey Elementary was so impressive that she earned a double promotion, allowing her to skip ahead and complete her education faster than many of her classmates. That achievement reflected not only intelligence, but also the focus and work ethic that would become recurring themes throughout her professional life. After graduating from Taft High School earlier than many of her peers, she enrolled at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, where she joined the Delta Gamma sorority and appeared to be following the traditional path expected of a promising young student. For a time, university life seemed to offer a secure future. However, it did not take long for Mills to realize that her ambitions stretched far beyond lecture halls and textbooks. After completing just 1 year of college, she made a decision that surprised many people around her. Rather than continue pursuing a conventional education, she left university altogether to chase a career in dance and performance. It was a bold move, particularly during an era when stable careers were often valued over artistic dreams. To family members and friends, abandoning college for the uncertainty of show business may have seemed reckless. For Mills, however, it represented the first major gamble of a career that would ultimately be built on taking chances. That leap of faith soon opened the door to opportunities in summer stock theater during the late 1950s. These productions, often staged in regional theaters during the summer months, served as important training grounds for aspiring performers. The work was demanding, the schedules relentless, and the financial rewards modest, but they offered something even more valuable: experience. Performing before live audiences taught Mills lessons that no classroom could provide. Every performance required confidence, precision, adaptability, and the ability to recover quickly from mistakes. Those early-stage experiences laid the foundation for the professionalism she would later bring to television and film. Growing up in Chicago during the 1940s and 1950s also shaped Mills in ways that extended beyond formal training. It was a period when entertainment revolved around radio programs, neighborhood cinemas, and live music echoing through city streets. Families gathered around radios to follow their favorite programs, while movie theaters offered an escape into glamorous worlds far removed from everyday life. Like many young people of her generation, Mills developed an appreciation for performance long before she ever stepped onto a stage herself. Yet, there was nothing inevitable about her future. She came from an ordinary Midwestern background, making her eventual rise in Hollywood all the more remarkable. Dance played an especially significant role in her development. Long before she considered acting as a serious career, Mills devoted countless hours to rehearsals, refining her technique and building the physical discipline demanded of professional dancers. The routine was often exhausting. Endless practice sessions, aching muscles, and constant repetition became part of daily life. Although she could not have known it at the time, those years of rigorous training would later prove invaluable. The confidence and body awareness she developed through dance translated naturally to life in front of television cameras, where subtle movement and screen presence often mattered just as much as spoken dialogue. Her transition from dancer to actress truly began with a production of Come Blow Your Horn at Chicago's Drury Lane Theater. Securing that role marked an important turning point, as it became her first professional acting job and demonstrated that her talents extended beyond dance alone. It was the opportunity she needed to establish herself as a legitimate performer and gain the confidence to pursue acting full-time. Not long afterwards, Mills earned a place in the touring production of the acclaimed musical My Fair Lady. Touring with such a successful production exposed her to larger audiences and the demanding rhythm of professional theater. Traveling from city to city required adaptability and resilience, but it also expanded her experience and introduced her to the wider world of American entertainment. Most importantly, the tour eventually brought her to New York City, the nation's theatrical capital, and the place where countless aspiring actors hoped to launch lasting careers. New York, however, was far from glamorous in the beginning. Like many young performers trying to establish themselves, Mills quickly discovered that ambition alone could not pay the bills. Between auditions and theater commitments, she worked as a secretary for Popular Mechanics magazine, spending her days answering telephones, typing correspondence, and handling routine office tasks. It was hardly the glamorous lifestyle associated with future television stars, but it reflected the reality faced by countless aspiring actors. Success often required balancing ordinary jobs with extraordinary dreams. How one TV episode changed her entire life. Mills's persistence finally paid off in 1966 when she landed her first substantial television role on the daytime soap opera The Secret Storm. She joined the long-running series for a 6-month stint, portraying a character named Rocket. Although it was not yet the kind of role that made headlines, it marked an important breakthrough after years of balancing stage work, auditions, and office jobs. It was her first real opportunity to demonstrate that she could handle the demanding pace of television production, a medium very different from live theater. Working on a daytime soap during the 1960s was an intense training ground for any actor. Unlike modern television dramas, which often spend days filming a single episode, soap operas produced new episodes almost every weekday. The relentless production schedule meant actors had to memorize large amounts of dialogue overnight, move quickly between scenes, and perform with very little room for error. There was rarely time for multiple rehearsals or numerous retakes. More often than not, performers had only 1 or 2 opportunities to get a scene right before the cameras moved on. That environment demanded discipline, adaptability, and confidence under pressure. For Mills, it became an invaluable education that sharpened her instincts and prepared her for increasingly demanding roles. The experience soon began opening new doors. In 1967, Mills made her feature film debut in The Incident, a tense psychological crime drama that featured an impressive cast including Martin Sheen, Beau Bridges, and Ed McMahon. Although her role was relatively early in her career, appearing alongside performers who would go on to become major Hollywood figures provided valuable exposure. More importantly, it introduced her to feature filmmaking, where the pace, scale, and technical demands differed significantly from the fast-moving world of daytime television. At roughly the same time, Mills also found success on the Broadway stage. She joined the cast of Do Not Drink the Water, a comedy written by Woody Allen, playing the wife of a fictional foreign leader trapped inside an American embassy. The production satirized Cold War politics through the experiences of an ordinary American family unexpectedly caught in an international diplomatic crisis. While audiences laughed at the absurd political situations unfolding on stage, Mills gained something equally valuable behind the scenes: experience performing before live theater audiences in one of the world's most demanding theatrical environments. Broadway required a completely different skill set from television. Every performance unfolded in real time, without the safety net of editing or retakes. Actors had to maintain energy, timing, and emotional consistency for the entire show while responding naturally to the audience's reactions. The immediate connection between performer and audience demanded confidence and precision, qualities that could not be developed overnight. Those months on Broadway strengthened Mills's stage presence and gave her a level of confidence that would soon prove invaluable when even greater opportunities appeared. Following her Broadway success, Mills secured another significant television role, this time on the daytime drama Love is a Many-Splendored Thing. Beginning in 1967 and continuing through 1970, she portrayed Laura Donnelly, a former nun navigating the complicated realities of ordinary life after leaving religious service. The series revolved around intertwined romantic relationships spanning multiple generations, and Laura's background allowed the writers to explore conflicts between faith, personal duty, love, and human emotion. It was a richer, more emotionally layered character than many of her previous roles and gave Mills the chance to demonstrate greater dramatic range over an extended period. For 3 years, the role provided steady work and increasing visibility within the television industry. By the time the series concluded, Mills had established herself as a dependable and versatile actress, capable of handling emotionally complex material. Yet she also recognized that if she wanted to expand beyond daytime television, she would have to take another significant leap. When Love is a Many-Splendored Thing came to an end, Mills packed her belongings and relocated to the West Coast, placing herself much closer to the center of the film and television industry. The move represented another calculated risk. She was leaving behind the familiarity of New York and daytime drama for the uncertainty of Hollywood, where competition was fierce and success was far from guaranteed. Her transition into primetime television came with a guest appearance on the Western series Lancer. The role exposed her to an entirely different style of storytelling from the soap operas that had dominated her career to that point. Westerns remained one of television's most popular genres during the late 1960s and early 1970s, requiring performers to adapt to faster-paced narratives, outdoor filming, and a very different style of production. However, it was another Western series that would unexpectedly alter the course of her career. Mills later appeared in an episode of Dan August, starring Burt Reynolds. At the time, it seemed like just another guest role among many, but the professional relationship she built with Reynolds would soon prove remarkably significant. Neither of them could have known that this relatively routine television appearance would become the key to one of the biggest opportunities of Mills' career. Not long afterwards, Clint Eastwood, already an established actor but preparing to direct his first feature film, ran into Burt Reynolds at a bar. During their conversation, Eastwood mentioned a problem that had become increasingly frustrating. His directorial debut was moving forward, yet despite considerable effort, he and his team still had not found the right actress to play the film's important female lead. Numerous names had been considered, but none seemed to fit what Eastwood envisioned. Reynolds immediately remembered working with Donna Mills on Dan August. Believing she possessed exactly the qualities Eastwood was looking for, he suggested that Eastwood take a look at the unaired footage from their episode. Eastwood agreed, and arrangements were made for him to screen the material. After watching only a few minutes of Mills's performance, the decision came remarkably quickly. There was no lengthy audition process, no screen test was arranged, no series of meetings followed. Eastwood simply decided that he had found his actress. Based entirely on a brief television performance captured months earlier on an unrelated show, Donna Mills was offered the role outright, a single recommendation and a few minutes of unseen footage becoming the phone call that changed the course of her career forever. The film that created a Hollywood icon. Play Misty for Me hit theaters on October 20th, 1971, made on a modest budget of around $725,000. It went on to earn roughly $10,600,000 at the box office, a massive return that turned a nervous directing experiment into a genuine box office hit almost overnight. Critics praised the finished film at the time, and Jessica Walter earned a Golden Globe nomination for playing the terrifying obsessive caller, a nomination that helped launch a whole new chapter in her career. The financial success proved that the calm, patient directing style, used quietly on set, actually worked in front of a real paying audience across the entire country. What makes this story even more fascinating is what it revealed about Clint Eastwood as a filmmaker. The quiet, trust-the-actor philosophy he relied on during his directorial debut wasn't a one-time experiment. It became the defining characteristic of his career behind the camera, a style he refined over the next 5 decades before earning Best Director Oscars for Unforgiven in 1992 and $1 Million Baby in 2004. Film historians also point back to Play Misty for Me as one of the earliest templates for the obsessed fan thriller genre, a style of storytelling that clearly influenced countless later movies about dangerous romantic obsession. The 1987 hit Fatal Attraction is often mentioned by critics as following the same basic blueprint laid down years earlier in this smaller, quieter Carmel production. In many ways, this small directing debut quietly reshaped an entire corner of Hollywood storytelling for decades to come, all while most audiences were simply enjoying a tense thriller without realizing just how influential the movie would eventually become. Very few first films managed to leave that kind of lasting mark on an entire genre of filmmaking. After the success of Play Misty for Me, roles kept arriving throughout the 1970s, including the lead female part in the heist film Murph the Surf in 1975, along with several made-for-television movies during that same busy stretch. Still, the biggest role of the entire career was waiting several years further down the road. In 1980, Mills landed the part of Abby Cunningham on the primetime soap opera Knots Landing, a spin-off of the massive primetime hit Dallas. The character was a scheming, manipulative rival that audiences absolutely loved to hate week after week, and Mills played the role for 9 straight years until 1989. That unforgettable performance earned 3 separate Soap Opera Digest Awards for Outstanding Villainess, one in 1986, 1988, and 1989. Few actresses on television have ever managed to make a villain so entertaining that fans kept tuning in every single week just to see what fresh trouble the character would cause next. Here is a fun coincidence that quietly connects 2 very different points in this entire story. Years before playing a scheming sister-in-law on Knots Landing, Mills had already worked alongside actor Larry Hagman on a short-lived 1971 sitcom called The Good Life, long before Hagman became famous playing the villain J.R. Ewing on Dallas itself. Mills eventually left the main cast in 1989, but returned for the emotional series finale in 1993, and again for a reunion special called Knots Landing Back to the Cul-de-Sac in 1997, proving just how beloved the character remained with longtime fans of the show for years afterward. Why Donna Mills left Hollywood? Despite spending decades in the spotlight, Donna Mills made one deeply personal choice that set her apart from many of her Hollywood contemporaries. She never married, choosing instead to focus on her career for much of her adult life. Then, in late 1994, at the age of 54, she made what would become the most important decision of her life. Mills adopted a newborn baby girl named Chloe when the baby was just 4 days old, beginning an entirely new chapter that had nothing to do with television ratings or movie premieres. At the time, the decision surprised many people. Becoming a first-time mother in her mid-50s was far less common than it is today, and some openly questioned whether she had waited too long. Others wondered how someone with such an established acting career could balance Hollywood with raising a young child. Mills, however, ignored the criticism. She later explained that becoming a mother was something she had always wanted, and when the opportunity finally arrived, she knew it was the right time. Motherhood quickly became her highest priority. Rather than trying to balance constant filming schedules with raising Chloe, Mills made a decision that genuinely shocked many within the entertainment industry. She stepped away from regular acting work for nearly 18 years so she could be a full-time, hands-on parent. Unlike many performers who relied heavily on nannies while traveling for film and television projects, Mills wanted to raise her daughter herself. She chose school runs, family dinners, birthdays, and everyday moments over red carpets and television sets, believing that no professional success could replace being present during her daughter's childhood. It was an extraordinary sacrifice in an industry that rarely waits for anyone. Long absences often mean lost opportunities, fading recognition, and the difficult task of rebuilding a career from the ground up. Yet Mills accepted those risks without hesitation, placing family ahead of fame at a time when doing so was far from common in Hollywood. When Chloe eventually left home to attend college, Mills decided it was finally time to return to acting. The comeback, however, proved more challenging than many expected. During her years away, the entertainment industry had changed dramatically. A new generation of producers, directors, and casting directors had entered Hollywood, and many were unfamiliar with the successful career Mills had built during the 1970s and 1980s. Once again, she found herself having to prove herself in an industry that had largely moved on. Persistence, however, had always been one of Mills' greatest strengths. She gradually rebuilt her career through guest appearances and television roles, eventually earning one of the most meaningful achievements of her professional life. In 2015, a guest role on the long-running soap opera General Hospital earned her the Daytime Emmy Award for Outstanding Special Guest Performer in a Drama Series. The recognition carried special significance because daytime television had been where her career first began decades earlier, making the award a fitting full-circle moment. Away from acting, Mills also faced personal health challenges. She was diagnosed with arthritis, a condition that affects the joints and can make everyday movement painful and difficult. Rather than keeping the diagnosis private, she chose to use her public profile to help others facing similar struggles. In 2000, she became an official spokesperson for BEAT, an arthritis awareness campaign dedicated to educating the public about the condition and encouraging those living with it to seek information and support. That decision reflected a pattern that had defined much of Donna Mills's life. Whether stepping away from a successful career to raise her daughter or using her own health challenges to help others, she consistently placed personal values above public expectations. Those choices may not have generated the same headlines as her Hollywood success, but they reveal a legacy built not only on acting, but also on resilience, compassion, and the courage to live life on her own terms. The truth about Donna Mills. Today, decades after release, Play Misty for Me still gets studied by film students and revisited by critics writing about the history of the thriller genre. Special anniversary editions have been released on disc over the years, often including brand new interview segments where Mills looks back fondly on the making of that very first Eastwood film. Those newer interviews, recorded decades after filming wrapped, reveal something that rarely comes through in old press clippings from 1971. The warmth and genuine respect toward Eastwood clearly never faded with time, even as memories of countless other film sets naturally blurred together across such a long and busy career. Film critics reviewing those bonus disc interviews have often noted how rare it is for a co-star to speak so consistently well about a director decades later, especially regarding a scene as personal and vulnerable as the one filmed near that forest pond. That lasting goodwill says something meaningful about how the entire experience was actually handled behind the scenes. These days, Mills lives in Beverly Hills alongside longtime partner Larry Gilman, enjoying a much quieter chapter of life well outside the constant spotlight of soap opera fame. Acting has not disappeared completely, though, since a role appeared in the 2022 Jordan Peele film Nope, proving the acting instincts never really went away. That project even led to a rare public outing, walking the red carpet at the London premiere of Nope alongside daughter Chloe, sharing a special mother-daughter moment in front of cameras once again after so many quiet years out of the public eye. Photos from that particular night showed two generations enjoying the spotlight together side by side. Then came even more happy news in 2024, when an announcement revealed that Chloe was expecting a first child with partner Travis Collings, meaning grandmother status was right around the corner. The exciting update got shared publicly with real joy, celebrating a new chapter that acting fame alone could never quite provide on its own. In more recent interviews, looking back on Play Misty for Me, Mills continues describing the experience with warmth and clear respect, calling it one of the most meaningful memories of an entire long career spent in front of cameras. That respect for how a nervous young actress got treated during a very first directing job has clearly never faded across more than 50 years. Looking back across the entire journey, from a determined kid in Chicago to a secretary typing letters in New York, to a Hollywood leading lady, to a devoted single parent, and now a soon-to-be grandmother, the story of Donna Mills proves that real Hollywood legends get built on far more than just one single famous role. Who knew one unexpected phone call could change Hollywood history forever? If you enjoyed uncovering the untold story behind Donna Mills and Clint Eastwood, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more shocking behind-the-scenes Hollywood stories. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.